What is true is that he starts working with Tulane in Alabama in March of 79. But by May, your dad had heard about Terry Bollea. And what a way to introduce an iconic wrestling character to a new territory. We're going to show you how they did that because your dad was a real innovator. Of course, talking about the late Jerry Jarrett, when it came to using music and video packages, he was really the first promoter who really, quote unquote, got it when it came to promoting wrestling on television. I've heard the story that your dad has told about, the Ultimate Warrior and Sting coming to the front door to looking for work. But tell me about, as best you can recall, your dad's first time meeting the real life Terry Bollea.
I was not there at this stage. So we're talking late 70s. I was born in 67. So, I'm 10, 11, 12 years old. But this was the time of my life that I was spending summers with my father. And so, I don't have I've heard different stories, and oh boy, Conrad, I don't even know where to kind of dive into. So I may be jumping around on timeline. But as we were, as the passing on the Thursday, and as as the days kind of rolled on, and then you kind of let me know, hey, yeah, the tribute will be this episode coming up, and I was just kind of trying to think about his start. Hiro Matsuda, and I know that we're not here to talk about that because that wasn't a part of, pardon the pun, my world, but just kind of his start there, and then the Alabama days, and then coming to Memphis, and then, I'm a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, and like I said, spending the summers with my old man, and he lived not far from where I'm sitting right now, but back in a subdivision. Obviously, this is late 70s, so Hendersonville was a much smaller town and off the beaten path. And anyway, you had to wind back to his house. He had bought the house from George Jones and Timmy Wynette, and he was right on the point of the channel of old Hickory Lake. And it was split level, and you had to go. There it is. If you're watching on YouTube, you can kind of see this house. So if you're looking back right, it's that's the top level, but it had a downstairs. And so my bedroom was literally, and I've talked about, one of the first times that I kind of got smartened up and in joking, I saw one of my dad's legal pads, and he had week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. I'm like, no, wait a minute. That looks like it's predetermined, but that's another story that I've shared before. But also, as a part of that, my dad had, I'm a little kid, and in those days, big screen TVs and all that kind of stuff, I'd never seen it. But the 3/4 inch tape, the first time that's the first time I ever saw Hulk was in those tapes. And my dad had Lawler highlights and Lawler Dundee highlights, and later 82, 83, 84, the Fab videos and the rock and roll. But one of the very first videos, my dad taught me how to run the machine, so I'd plug it in and out. And I kid you not, Conrad, I bet I have watched as a child the Hulk Hogan entrance theme hundreds of times. I was mesmerized by it. And the thing, Conrad, the VO on it, Michael St. John, which is a Alabama native. He lived in Nashville for years. He did called wrestling play-by-play for Nick Goulas back in the day. Then he went to work for my dad, and then he worked for me at TNA. He has been a lifer radio, a Hall of Famer in so many different ways. But his voice and the descriptive, and I will say, my dad had unique skill sets. I think his creativity certainly is a part of his legacy, but also I think being able to produce talent in certain ways, and just having a vision on it being, as you kind of referenced, a television product. And Hulk being a super raw talent, but that's something that I think we've all kind of witnessed before his passing, and certainly even after his passing, is that Hulk Hogan engages emotion almost like none other. And that video that introduced him to, I'll call it the territory, the wrestling audience, in a lot of ways, you can't say he was made day one, But boy, oh boy, what a way to introduce a talent. And of course, Hulk looked the part. And again, we're talking, decades ago, and you just didn't see talent like this come through. And obviously, it's just a different era prior to cable television. But man, Conrad, the Hulk Hogan intro video, and it's circulated around online. But I think it's something that I think today is very applicable, because the suspension of disbelief was a pillar of my old man's kind of philosophy. And I think you got to have a philosophy. I think it's your guiding principle. But from the very first words Michael St. John speaks on the video, it evokes emotion. And I think that was what my old man was going for. And obviously Hulk, from day one, knew how to look like a star.
So the real life Terry Bollea starts wrestling in 1977. That's when he starts training with Hiro Matsuda and the Briscoes. In 1978, he's going to start working in that Tampa market, having a series of matches with Brian Blair. By 79, the Briscoes think he's ready to start taking bookings. So Tulane, Alabama is the connection that happens. That's March of 79. So if you're keeping score at home, that means the real life Terry Bollea's home territory was the Gulf Coast territory. So he's going to be wrestling in Dothan and in Mobile and in Pensacola, in my stomping grounds, if you will. And that all starts happening in March of 79. So in May of 79, so less than 60 days after Hogan has decided to venture out into different territories, not just Tampa, but the Gulf Coast and now Tennessee, your dad takes one look at him and says, I've got an idea. And that house we showed earlier there in Hendersonville, the old George Jones house, that's where this video was filmed. One of the announcers, and I think Dave Silva actually has a trading card, an old image of Michael St. John. He was one of the talking heads for the Memphis territory. And there he is right there. Now he's going to do the voiceover for the video we're about to watch. And I want everybody to appreciate what you're about to watch is 46 years old. This is from May of 1979, wow. Over 46 years ago, wow. Long before he had worked on a national platform, long before Hulkamania was running wild. This is the earliest hype video and promotional video out there of the incredible Hulk Hogan before he was even called Hulk Hogan. Let's take a listen.
When they see this guy, that they won't forget that Terry Boulder is the Hulk. Let's take a look at it right now.
This man is not a television illusion. He is not an artist's conception. He is not a figment of the imagination. He is real. He stands an amazing 6'7" tall. He weighs an incredible 324 pounds. He is the Hulk. The Hulk, without a doubt, is the most awesome figure in professional wrestling today. His measurements are almost unbelievable. His neck measures 24 3/4 inches. His chest expands to an incredible 59 inches. His biceps are 26 inches, and at the end of these powerful arms are two 12-inch fists. This magnificent upper body tapers off to only a 34-inch waist. The Hulk is supported by tree-like legs that can leg press over 1,900 pounds. Combine these amazing measurements with more brute strength than you can imagine, and you have the Hulk. And the Hulk is coming here.
Boy. No, we won't forget that the Hulk is Terry Boulder.
I'm sure that people out there can all see that the Hulk is coming, and they...
That was a very young Brutus Beefcake. Ed Leslie's his real name. He was going by Eddie Dizzy Boulder at the time. And then here comes Terry the Hulk Boulder. Man, that video that your dad produced with the Michael St. John hype video, I mean, there is a roadmap that Vince McMahon would certainly borrow. Every promoter after that would really focus on the size, but man, how ahead of his time your dad was 46 years ago. What a cool presentation. What a cool way to bring a guy in.
After the news came out and, and I don't want to get too far ahead, I don't say it dawned on me, but I started going back, like I said, from, coming to, in Alabama, but, he came to Memphis and that's when I don't have any, real knowledge of how they promoted him in Alabama, but I know my old man looked at him and said, damn, what a star. And just kind of the mindset, my dad's booking philosophy and promoting philosophy and character development philosophy from a very early, Hulk's first one, and just kind of the trajectory. And I think of kind of the unique journey that the Jarretts and Hulk, and kind of that was the launching point right there that we've had. And my gosh, again, I don't get too far ahead, but from Memphis to, and I know his different stops along the way, but in so many ways, the influence, and I'll just say Jarrett and Jerry Lawler had on Hulk is, in a lot of ways, it was his college degree or getting his master's or whatever it may, what an education in a great way, and what an opportunity it was. That picture we're showing right now, to have Lance Russell as your studio host. Lance was so good, and just, obviously Hogan could always talk, but you just kind of look at the nurturing and the character development and how things developed and where he went from here. It's just cool to kind of look at his journey and how it's, in a lot of ways, his first territory to be promoted like a mega star was right here.
It is so cool to see the humble beginnings of the Hulk Hogan character. As a reminder, that was May of 79. And we would see Hogan start as a babyface partner for Jerry Lawler in matches against the Mongolian Stomper and Gorgeous George Jr. And he's going to work a few big shows for the Jarretts here, but he's still based in the Gulf Coast. He would actually beat Ox Baker for the Southeastern Championship the first week of June in 1979. And he would, of course, drop it to another guy who was a big influence to Hulk Hogan, Austin Idol, just a week later. Austin Idol is a guy who's really closely associated with Memphis too, Jeff. And, one of the things that Austin Idol did is he patterned his career largely after superstar Billy Graham. And he was using the phrase Idol mania, and he would always use the term Jack. It feels like later Hogan would adopt Idol mania and change it to Hulkamania. And whereas Austin Idol was saying Jack, Hogan would hit brother. The formation of the Hulk Hogan character has a lot of roots in Memphis. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, just no doubt. And it was, when you watch kind of the obits that have happened over the last 3 or 4 days, you will hear the host say brother. It's funny how, that's been obviously used in all kinds of forms, but it's like that was in so many ways Hogan's signature catchphrase, brother. And whether he was a heel or a babyface, but yeah, Idol, old Mike McCord, who's still rocking and rolling today. And we have a good relationship, go back and forth and text about all kinds of things. But yes, Idol, his mannerisms and how he could make just incredible promos and create an aura. And, when you look at Hogan and Idol, you don't ever remember, oh my God. Yeah, I mean, Hogan, he did have a few, so I don't want to completely say that, but they're more remembered for their aura, their promos, their look, their charisma than any one particular match. And I think the similarities of those two guys being cut from the same mold, and man, I hope this translates the right way. The art of drawing money is something that, I mean, when I broke in and look, I always, Lawler had a certain way on how he sold tickets through promos, and you could hear Hogan and you could hear Idol and all those guys. the real art of talking people into the arena. You just kind of look at, okay, Hogan coming to the territory. I think Lawler is right up there at the best, if not the best, of doing a money promo, and Idol too. I mean, I saw it as a rookie and my first couple of years bring Idol in, but my old man wouldn't even think about bringing Idol in unless Idol would go down to the local TV station or go wherever he could, and he'd have to send promos in, and he would send town specific: Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, Nashville. Hey, Idol, talk to your people in Nashville and get them out to the building. So he would say, "What's up, Nashville?" I mean, talk specifically to the audience, and you kind of look at the formation of how Hogan's mentality. And again, I'm an observer of history in so many ways, but also the direct communication, obviously, with Lawler and my father that I had about that. And, another guy, Eddie Marlin. So my dad remarried Eddie's daughter, Deborah. She's my stepmom. But, Eddie was the promoter and he worked in this territory. But Eddie used to like to tell a story because he was my dad's right-hand man. He was a spot show promoter, figurehead, authority figure. His father-in-law, pulled ring, just did it all. But, my dad would always, when different guys would come into the territory, and there's all kinds of stories back to Don and Al Green on saving money and how influential my grandmother was on many, many wrestlers, on saying, hey, I'm paying you every week, so let's go set up a savings account. So when you get the savings account, you can put your money in the savings account first. So my grandmother had that kind of role, but my father obviously knew that, okay, a guy's going to come into my territory. You're going to drive a lot of miles if you're here for a short time or a long time. I mean, there's even up till, we're talking 70s, but, decades later, there's different stories like that. But my old man facilitated getting Hogan a Cadillac. And Eddie, my grandfather, used to tell stories about that and how appreciative he was. And anyway, just there's story after story after story about the formative years of Hogan here.
Don't we all love summer vacation, relaxing, laying out by the pool, barbecues, hitting the beach, doing, well, nothing? Well, how about a summer vacation from your house payments? With SaveWithConrad.com, you can do just that. Reduce your monthly payments by making the equity you built up in your home work for you. You can roll together those high interest rate credit cards into one lower monthly payment, and perhaps access some of that newfound equity to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. And how about this? You get to skip your next 2 house payments. That's right. You won't have to make your June or your July house payment. You're done until August 1st. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com. Let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. And did I mention we're offering a 3-year guarantee right now? That's right. That means if at any point interest rates improve over the next 3 years, you get a free refi. That's right. No new lender fees from us. So you get to save money now without wasting money later when the rates improve on a whole second set of closing costs. Why not go to SaveWithConrad.com and get a guarantee? Save money now and save money later with your friend in the mortgage business. That's me, Conrad Thompson at SaveWithConrad.com. Shoot me an email at Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com. Give us a call at 888-425-0105. Or get yourself a quick quote. Even talk to a live person right now at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. Let's take a summer vacation from house payments at SaveWithConrad.com.